We are listening Talks with SriRamana Maharshi, Talk 18. Mr. Evans once asked that they are yogis with occult powers. What does Maharshi think of them? To this, Maharshi replied that the powers are known by hearsay or by exhibition. Thus, they are in the realm of the mind only. Devotee then asked that Mr. Brunton mentions a yogi in Madras who is said to hold communion with his master in the Himalayas. Maharshi said, "It is not more marvelous than telepathy, so commonly known. Telepathy cannot exist without the hearer and television without the seer. What is the difference between hearing from far and from near? It is only the hearer who matters. Without the hearer, there cannot be hearing, and without the seer, there cannot be vision." So the devotee said that, "So do you want me to consider the subject and not the object?" Maharshi said, "The subject object appear only after the mind has arisen. The mind comprises them and also the occult powers." Then the devotee said that, "Can the manifestations of light or the jyotis be seen on Arunachala hill?" Maharshi said, "Yes." Devotee then asked, "Is there any psychic effect in visiting sacred places like Mount Kailash, Banaras, etc.?" Maharshi replied, "Yes." Devotee then asked, "Is there any benefit accruing by dying in Banaras?" Maharshi said, "Yes. The meaning will be clear if the real Banaras and the real dying be understood." Devotee said, "You mean that they are in the self?" Maharshi replied, "Yes." Devotee then asked that there are 6 centers in the body and their corresponding centers in the world. Maharshi said, "Yes, what is in the world is in the body, and what is in the body is in the world also." Devotee then asked that, "Is the sacredness of Banaras a matter of faith, or is it externally also real?" Maharshi replied, "Both." Then devotee asked that some people are attracted to one place of pilgrimage and others to another. Is it according to their temperaments? Maharshi replied, "Yes, just consider how all of you born in different places and living in other lands are gathered here today. What is the force which has attracted you here? If this is understood, the other force is also understood." Talk 19. Mr. Grant Duff asked that, "Where are memory and forgetfulness located?" Maharshi replied, "In the mind, that is Chitta." devotee. Mr. Evans Wentz asked that, is solitude necessary for a jnani? Maharshi replied, solitude is in the mind of man. One might be in the thick of the world and maintain serenity of mind. Such a one is in solitude. Another may stay in a forest but still be unable to control his mind. He cannot be said to be in solitude. Solitude is a function of the mind. A man attached to desire cannot get solitude wherever he may be, but a detached man is always in solitude. Devotee then asks, so then, one might be engaged in work and be free from desire and keep up solitude, is it so? Maharshi said, yes. Work performed with attachment is a shackle, whereas work performed with detachment doesn't affect the doer. He is even while working in solitude. Devotee then asked, they say that there are many saints in Tibet who remain in solitude and are still very helpful to the world. How can it be? Maharshi replied, it can be so. Realization of the self is the greatest help that can be rendered to humanity. Therefore, the saints are said to be helpful, though they remain in forest. But it should not be forgotten that solitude is not in forests only. It can be had even in towns in the thick of worldly occupations. Devotee then asked, it is not necessary that the saints should mix with people and be helpful to them? Maharshi said, the self alone is the reality. The world and the rest of it are not. The realized being does not see the world as different from himself. Devotee then said, thus then the saint's realization leads to the upliftment of humanity without the latter being aware of it. Is it so? Maharshi said, yes, yes, yes. The help is imperceptible but is still there. A saint helps the whole of humanity unknown to the latter. Devotee said, would it not be better if he mixed with others? Ramana Maharshi replied, there are no others to mix with. The self is the one and the only reality. Devotee then said, is there be 100 self-realized man, will it not be good to the greater benefit of the world? Maharshi said, when you say self, you refer to the unlimited. But when you add men to it, you limit the meaning. There is only one infinite self. Devotee said, yes, yes, I see. Sri Krishna has said in the Gita that work must be performed without attachment, and such work is better than idleness. Is it karma yoga? Maharshi replied, what is said is given out to suit the temperament of the hearers. Devotee then asked, in Europe, it is not understood by the people that a man in solitude can be helpful. They imagine that men working in the world can alone be useful. When will this confusion cease? Will the European mind continue wading in the morass, or will it realize the truth? To this, Maharshi replied, never mind Europe or America. Where are they except in your mind? Realize yourself, and then all is realized. If you dream and see several men and then wake up and recall your dream, do you try to ascertain if the persons of your dream creation are also awake? Devotee then asked, what does Maharshi think of the theory of universal illusion Maya? Maharshi replied, what is Maya? It is only reality. Devotee then said, is not Maya illusion? Maya is used to signify the manifestations of the reality. Thus, Maya is only reality. Devotee then asked, some say that Sri Shankaracharya was only intellectual and not realized. Is it so? Maharshi replied, why worry about Shankaracharya? Realize your own self. Others can take care of themselves. Then the devotee asked, Jesus Christ cured people of their diseases. Is that only an occult power? Maharshi said, was Jesus aware at the time that he was curing men of their diseases? He could not have been conscious of his powers. There's a story related as follows. Jesus had once cured a man of his blindness. The man turned wicked in course of time. Meeting him after some years, Jesus observed his wickedness and asked him why he was so. He replied, saying that when he was blind, he could not commit any sin. But after Jesus had cured him of blindness, he grew wicked, and Jesus was responsible for his wickedness. Devotee then asked, was not Jesus a perfected being possessing occult power or the siddhis? Maharshi replied, he could not have been aware of his powers or siddhis. Devotee said, is it not good to acquire them, such as telepathy, etc.? Maharshi said, telepathy or radio enables one to see and hear from afar. They are all the same, hearing and seeing. Whether one hears from near or far doesn't make any difference in hearing. The fundamental factor is the hearer, the subject. Without the hearer or the seer, there can be no hearing or no seeing. The latter are the functions of the mind. The occult powers are therefore only in the mind. They are not natural to the self. That which is not natural but acquired can't be permanent and is not worth striving for. They denote extended powers, a man is possessed of limited powers and is miserable. He wants to expand his power so that he may be happy. But consider if it will be so, if with limited perception one is miserable, with extended perceptions the misery must increase proportionately. So, occult powers will not bring happiness to anyone but will make him all the more miserable. Moreover, what are these powers for then? The would-be occultist, the Siddha, desires to display the Siddhis so that others may appreciate him. He seeks appreciation, and if it is not forthcoming, he will not be happy. There must be others to appreciate him. He may even find another possessor of higher powers. That will cause jealousy and breed unhappiness. The higher Siddha or the occultist may meet a still higher Siddha, and so on until there will come one who will blow up everything in a trice. Such is the highest adept, the Siddha, and his God or the Self. Which is the real power? Is it to increase prosperity or bring about peace? That which results in peace is the highest perfection or siddhi. After this reply from Maharshi, the devotee asked that, but common people in Europe, America would not appreciate such an attitude and would desire a display of powers and instructions by lectures, etc. Maharshi replied, lectures may entertain individuals for a few hours without improving them. Silence, on the other hand, is permanent and benefits the whole of humanity. Then the devotee asked, but silence is not understood. Maharshi replied, it does not matter. By silence, eloquence is meant. Oral lectures are not so eloquent as silence. Silence is unceasing eloquence. The primal master Dakshinamurti is the ideal. He taught his rishi disciples by silence only. The devotee then said, but then there were disciples for him. It was all right. Now it is different. They must be sought after and helped. Maharshi said, that is the sign of ignorance. The power which created you has created the world. If it can take care of you, it can similarly take care of the world also. Devotee asked that, what does Bhagavan think of the lost soul mentioned by Jesus Christ? Maharshi said, think what there is to be lost. Is there anything to lose? What matters is only that which is natural. Such must be eternal and cannot be experienced. That which is born must die, that which is acquired must be lost. Were you born? You are ever existent, the self can never be lost. Devotee then asked, Buddha advises the eightfold path as being the best, so that none might be lost. Maharshi replied, Yes, such is called the Raj Yoga by the Hindus. Then the devotee asked, Is yoga advised for a spiritual aspirant? Maharshi replied, Yoga helps to control of mind. But does it not lead to occult powers which are said to be dangerous? The devotee asked. Maharshi replied, But you qualified your question by the words a spiritual aspirant. You did not mean a seeker of power, sathis. Now, talk 21. Mr. Illappa Chettiar, a member of the Legislative Council of Madras Presidency and an influential Hindu, asked Ramana Maharshi that why is it said that the knowledge born of hearing is not firm, whereas that born of contemplation is firm? Maharshi replied, On the other hand, it is said that hearsay knowledge, paroksha, is not firm, whereas that born of one's own realization, aparoksha, is firm. Maharshi said further, it is also said that hearing helps the intellectual understanding of the truth, that meditation makes the understanding clear, and finally that contemplation brings about realization of the truth. Furthermore, they say also that all such knowledge is not firm, and that it is firm only when it is as clear and intimate as a gooseberry in the hollow of one's palm. There are those who affirm that hearing alone will be sufficient, because a competent person who had already, perhaps in previous incarnations, qualified himself realizes and abides in peace as soon as he hears the truth told him only once. Whereas the person not so qualified must pass through the stages prescribed above before falling into samadhi. Talk 22. Mrs. Pigot returned from Madras for a further visit. She asked questions relating to diet regulation. She asked what diet is prescribed for a sadhak, one who is engaged in spiritual practices. Maharshi replied, Sattvic food in limited quantities. Then she asked, what is sattvic food? Maharshi said, breads, fruits, vegetables, milks, etc. Devotee asked, some people take fish in North India. May it be done? No answer was made by the Maharshi on this. Devotee then asked, we Europeans are accustomed to a particular diet. Change of diet affects health and weakens the mind. Is it not necessary to keep up physical health? Maharshi replied, quite necessary. But understand, the weaker the body, the stronger the mind grows. Then she asked, in the absence of our usual diet, our health suffers and the mind loses strength. Maharshi replied, what do you mean by strength of mind? Devotee said, the power to eliminate worldly attachment. Maharshi said, the quality of food influences the mind feeds on the food consumed. Then she asked, really, how can the Europeans adjust themselves to sattvic food only? Maharshi, pointing to Mr. Evans' friends, you have been taking our food. Do you feel uncomfortable on that account? Mr. Vance answered that no, because I am accustomed to it. Then the devotee asked, what about those not so accustomed? Maharshi replied, habit is only adjustment to the environment. It is the mind that matters. The fact is that the mind has been trained to think certain foods tasty and good. The food material is to be had both in vegetarian and non-vegetarian diet equally well. But the mind desires such food as it is accustomed to and considers tasty. Devotee then asked, are there restrictions for the realized man in a similar manner? Maharshi said, no. He is steady and not influenced by the food he takes. Then the devotee said, is it not killing life to prepare meat diet? Ahimsa stands foremost in the code of discipline for the yogis, Maharshi replied. Devotee then said, even plants have life. Maharshi said, so too the slabs you sit on. Devotee then said, may we gradually get ourselves accustomed to vegetarian food? Maharshi said, yes, that is the way. Talk 23. Mr. Evans once continued another day. May one have more than one spiritual master? Maharshi answers that who is a master? He is the self after all. According to the stages of the development of the mind, the self manifests as the master externally. The famous ancient saint Avadhut Dattatreya said that he had more than 24 masters. The master is one from whom one learns something. The guru may be sometimes inanimate also, as in the case of Avadhut. God, the guru, and the self are identical. A spiritual minded man thinks that God is all pervading and takes God for his guru. Later, God brings him in contact with a personal guru, and the man recognizes him as all in all. Lastly, the same man is made by the grace of the Master to feel that his self is the reality and nothing else. Thus, he finds that the self is the Master. Devotee then asked, does Sri Bhagavan initiate his disciples? Maharshi kept silent. Thereafter, one of the devotees took it upon himself to answer, saying, Maharshi does not see anyone as outside his self. So there are no disciples for him. His grace is all pervading, and he communicates his grace to any deserving individual in silence. Then the question was asked that how does book lore or book reading help in realizing self? Only so far as to make one spiritually minded, the answer came. And how far does intellect help? Only so far as to make one sink the intellect in the ego and the ego in the self. Hope. SriRamana Maharshi's words are developing certain orientation unto you and preparing the listeners to ward off innumerable association which are irrelevant to live right life. Thanks for listening.